This guy was like, everyone calls everything racist now, so the word has lost its meaning. And I was like, that's not really how words work. And he was like, well, you just gotta question it when you hear that they banned Captain Underpants for racism. And now I do gotta question it because I hadn't heard that. And my guy Dave Pilkey and I go way back, and you have to question it with me because if he turns out to be super racist, then I won't be sad alone. When I say I'm super good at research, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, so apparently some parents wrote in and they were like, hey, Dave Pilkey, one of your books contains some kind of harmful racial stereotypes. Dave Pilkey was like, thank you for bringing this to my attention. You're correct. He put out a public apology. They're halting publication of the book. They're seeking return of inventory from the retailers, and they're reaching out to libraries and schools to tell them why they're doing that. That is to say, they're not taking the books back from anyone. They're just saying, here's why we're not publishing it anymore. Cool. Seems well handled. I'm not sad.
Okay, so this TikTok by oddly.edu is amazing. And it's amazing for a couple reasons. First and foremost, because it points out how right-wingers tend to take things to like a millionth degree and are basically willing to stretch any fact or just make things up in order to make some sort of claim about, oh, wow, people are going too far and calling things racist before they turn around and point out to like an obviously racist thing. Right-wingers just love denying reality. But it also points out something that I think is something that more people need to focus on. See, my bet is that you don't really know who Dave Pilkey is. That even if you know what Captain Underpants is, you probably don't know about this particular incident. And I wouldn't blame you. I don't think most people know about that. I didn't know about that until I found this TikTok. But it points out something that I think we should realize, which is why. Why was this not this giant news story? Well, that's because Dave Pilkey didn't turn around and do this whole cancel culture tour to go onto Fox News to talk about how, oh, I've been canceled. Can you believe the woke mob has decided that because I did something racist in my book that I should be permanently canceled? When, in actuality, most of the people that do that, what initially happens is they face a moment of criticism. Somebody comes up to them and they say, hey, I think that the way you did this joke was wrong. I think that the way that you portrayed somebody in this show was wrong. It ended up being a little bit racist or was a little bit harmful here. You're portraying some stereotypes that I don't really appreciate. It usually starts off with pretty mild criticism, especially if people think that it was something that was done out of ignorance and not necessarily malice. And then the reaction is what matters. If you're a good and decent person, you will take a step back, you will think about what you've done, and you'll try to think about what you've done from the perspective of the people that are potentially hurt by it. And then, when you do that, you're like, wow, you're right. What I did was wrong, and I'm going to do the best of my ability to repair what has been damaged by my own action. Except for when people do that and they decide to grow as people and to be good, decent human beings, they don't get this giant media cycle. They don't get this whole clout. And the reason why they don't get the clout is because our media is hyper-focused on giving false legitimacy to the right wing. And it does so through this idea of debate, that every issue should be up for debate, when it really shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. Everything shouldn't be up for debate. Whether or not trans people exist is a simple matter of fact. It has nothing to do with a debate. To debate the existence of people is absurd. It's also true when it comes to doing things that are racist. If you are doing something that is racist, that's not really up for debate. You should just stop it. Racism is actually just bad, believe it or not. There's no debate about the appropriate level of racism in society. The answer is 0. Any instance of racism is bad. Even things that people like to claim are just mild, in actuality have a systemic and cultural effect that can be incredibly harmful, and is incredibly harmful. And so it's important that we address these things whenever they come up. Except, if you address it the right way, you don't get a media cycle and attention and all of these things. What you get is the reward that is being a decent person. But our media is so hyper-focused on always making sure that there's a debate. They give free attention, they give free clout to anybody that dares to be cringe and to stand their ground in being cringe, which is something that I really think that we should understand, because there's a lot of good people in the world. It's just our media has a vested interest in going out of its way to elevate the worst people. The easiest way to get clout in our modern age is to be a really terrible person. And it all boils down to this core idea that everything should be up for debate. that it's totally okay to just be a genuinely terrible person as long as you frame it as edgy comedy or sticking it to the man. The truth is, sometimes you're just punching down. The truth is, sometimes you're just being a terrible person. And everything doesn't actually have to be up for debate. So kudos to Dave Pilkey for recognizing that something he did in one of his books was harmful and doing his best to make up for it. Because I think it's people that do things like that deserve a lot more attention than the people who go out of their way to double down on being horrible just for the attention.
This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Young Turks Twitch channel, and you can follow me at Benjamin Carollo on Twitter.